So for someone who's perhaps maybe new in business, what would be some guiding principles that you might put forward to them? Like, is there a question they should be asking, um, or any ways to see that?
So I think that whole thing about being able to understand your own culture and your own cultural values, understanding that is important. And then the second thing is, of course, building your cultural awareness of the people you're dealing with. So if you're say traveling into Thailand, you're just going in there for a visit. Sure, you can just get what we call a skim of the place or not. But if you're spending, say, time in the Philippines and you have a team in the Philippines, right, you're going to be interacting more, then it's useful to start actually reading a little bit more about the Philippines, the culture, their history, their background, so that you kind of get a sense of, okay, what are the things that's important for them? What are some of the things that I need to be conscious of when I am interacting with them? So, e.g., let's talk about conflict. How the Filipinos deal with conflict is very different to how the Australians deal with conflict. To be expecting a Filipino to speak up and say, "Oh, look, I disagree," or "Look, I have a different point," it's not going to happen. Yet they will disagree and they will bring another point of view if you give them the space, and you need to be able to watch for how they use language. So I coached a French executive last year. And one of the things that he used to do, and he was responsible for Asia Pacific. And part of his speech patterns, he would always say, "Do you understand? Do you understand?" That was how he used to finish his sentences, right? "Do you understand? Do you understand?" And at one stage, when I was speaking to him, I said to him, "Has anyone ever responded when you've asked, 'Do you understand?' Has anyone ever responded by saying, 'No, I don't understand?'" I said, "No, no one's ever done that." I say, "And yet you ask the question, right? Like you have that as part of your speech pattern." And what we then worked out was in the French language, to say, "Do you understand?" is actually quite polite. It's quite normal. But in English, "Do you understand?" comes across as being quite rude, you know, quite arrogant. So, how do you find different ways then of saying that? How do you find different ways of checking in that you're understanding? So that's what, those will be the things. So when we talk about cultural intelligence, look, there are 4 quadrants. One is what we call CQ drive, your motivation and your ambition, your interest in wanting to deal with people of different cultures. Then you have knowledge, which is how much do I need to know about the particular culture? And then that informs your strategy. What's my plan? What do I put into play? And then that informs action, which is how do I execute? So drive, knowledge, strategy, action. Those are the 4 aspects that's useful in building your cultural intelligence.
Love it, love it. And do you have an example of that in a particular culture? It can be anyone that you've worked with in the past, but an example of someone doing that. Maybe the Philippines would be a good example since I have people there.
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. Yeah, yeah. I coached someone who was the director of IT. She was based in Melbourne, and her majority of her team were in Manila. And she's one of those type A personalities, fast, quick, boom, 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 very serious. And lunch would always be at the desk, the quick 20-minute
Yeah,
sandwich
yeah.
type thing. She went to the Philippines, and as you would know, being in the Philippines, lunch is a very important aspect of their day. Lunch is usually an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So she was taken out for lunch, and over lunch, they're asking her questions like, "How old are you? Are you married? How much money do you make?" And of course, she considers all these questions to be very intrusive. Right? Mind your own business. And then, of course, lunch is dragging on, and she's saying to herself, her internal dialogue is she's going, no wonder our productivity is low. These people are inefficient, they're wasting time. So anyway, but she was, but to her credit, she was, a smart woman. So, she started thinking a little bit more about cultural differences. And so she reached out and we started having some coaching conversations. And then what she realized was actually, it's just a different way of looking at the world, right? Because in the Philippines, relationships are really important. So it's all about relationship building versus task orientation, about getting the job done. So she shifted her mindset so that on her following trips, when she went into Manila at lunch, she just told us, okay, lunch is going to be an hour and a half. I'm just going to chill. I'll make up the emails later, right? Like, so allowing
Hmm.
yourself to be in the moment. That was one. Two is she started taking a personal interest in her team. Started asking questions like, so how's your child doing at school? How's the church choir going? How's your husband's business going? Right? So actually showing care, showing that she too was interested in relationship building. When she had the Christmas party at the end of the year, where she was, they do it for the team, she had 30 resumes given to her of people who wanted to join her team,
Wow.
right? And her attrition rate, which was at the start, was running at something like 40%, dropped to under 15, right? Because she started shifting the way she led, started shifting the way she managed. You know, that for me, that she was and is a culturally intelligent leader.
Wow, that's beautiful, and it's so true because when I was there, or even just in most Southeast Asian countries, family is everything. Like it's family, friends, cousins, always around, always around.
Yes,
Whereas in Australia and in America, and I mean, I'm going to speak for myself. In Australia, it's like sure, like you see your family, you hang out, whatever, but it's not like every single day. It's probably like maybe I don't know, once every couple of weeks. Maybe if you're like really family oriented, like once a week, you might have a family dinner or something, and that's it. Maybe like text a couple of times a week. That's it. So I come here and I'm like, and I'm chatting to people. It's like, oh, I'm with my cousin right now. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But I want to come see you and visit you and meet you with my cousin. And I'm like, what? Why? I don't understand. But it's very family oriented and very very yeah, like you said, relationship oriented. So that's a huge part of it. And I've heard the same thing happen over and over again with people from the West with dealing with countries like the Philippines, where they think that just think differently, and it's like this frustration. It's like but again, there's a way to go around it. So I really appreciate that. Thanks for watching this clip of the Getting Mental podcast. If you like this clip, check out the full episode here or more clips here.